So you moved here when she was 9, and was there any buildings? Was there a house? And how did you pick this area?
Well, Hastings Harcourt
Okay.
was the son of Harcourt Brace and World Publishing Company,
Okay.
New York.
Okay.
And he was a goofy kid, billionaire, but crazy. And his father, he did some idiotic things. And his father ran him out of New York and said, "You go to California, get yourself a house out there." He was married.
Okay.
"Get yourself a house out there and don't come back to New York. I don't want you around here. You're destroying this company."
Oh.
I didn't know all that when I met him. He was out here. And anyway, he said, "I've been watching you, and I've been seeing your horses on the racetracks here because I'm a race fan. And I want to be in the racing industry, and I want you to train for me. Have you ever trained race horses?" And I said, "I've only trained 2 or 3 race horses, but I've trained horses." And we were living up there for those 10 years. Well, he said, "I've got some property in this valley,
The San Ynez Valley.
San Ynez Valley. I've got quite a bit of property here, and I've put trees on it, so I made these places where you can go and buy a tree. And I'm selling hundreds of trees, but that's no fun. And I would like you to go down there to the San Ynez Valley and find a piece of property that would work for the racing industry." So I did what he said. I came down here and I studied. All of his property was on the worst soil that this valley has. And this was the best soil that this 52 feet of topsoil on this little valley floor here, all created at the time before there was a dam up here, and the water would fill this area up, and the soil would drop, the proper soil would drop down with lots of nitrogen and phosphorus in it. And I had just gotten out of a university studying that kind of thing, and I said, "None of those properties that you have would do, but I found a piece of property there that would do." And he said, "Where is that? And why do you need certain property?" "I just want to build some beautiful buildings and have a horse farm." And I said, "Well, I'm going to only do it if I can do the best."
Right.
And so he bought 1,256 acres.
Wow.
Right here.
Wow.
And those places he started to sell off.
Yeah.
Where the nurseries were.
Okay.
And he built a beautiful home up here for us. I designed it. Debbie and Tom will be the next people to live there, I assume, if they choose to.
Hope so.
And at the conclusion of my time, I had to stop all the travel and the training, and racing was going downhill, and I was 76 or...
Yeah, well, by the time it was really tipping, it was in the 80s.
Oh.
But the partnership broke up in 72.
Okay, so I had Debbie come to me and say, "I would like to continue your legacy." That would be nice. I'm gone. I'm not going to care. I could sell it for probably 20 million or something like that. I think we were offered that much at one time.
Wow.
It wasn't with the back country that he bought. It was just 190 acres or something.
At that point, was that Cavalli? Was that still part of it? Okay. So yeah, a couple hundred.
And how many acres do you have now?
About 100.
Wow, that's a lot of acreage
Well,
to
Pat and I sold,
manage.
we sold 4 places off.
Yeah, it was originally
Five,
$12.50. Was it something
Yeah.
like $12.50? I think originally.
Wow, that's a huge farm.
$1,250 originally.
Originally.
Yeah.
1256.
There you go. That was close.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, all the other acreage has been sold, and now it's 100 and
About 100.
about 100.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
lot of acreage.
It's
Oh,
the
God,
it's the
yes.
core of it
Yeah.
though.
And now it has
Yeah.
homes over it and more horse things and stuff.
And you built the round pen.
I designed every
everything.
single thing you see here. But obviously, when you design something, you have help.
Mm-hmm.
The round pens were helped in funny ways. Those are the only round pens of their kind
Mhm.
in the world. And they're built like a barrel,
Mm-hmm.
and the posts slope outward
Mm-hmm.
so that the horse's feet are here and the rider's knee is not next to the
Right.
fence.
Knee
If you
sand.
just ride him around there on a fence that's straight up, and
Mhm.
that's the way they all are,
Yeah,
your knee is the closest thing to the fence.
and it's gonna.
Yeah, and when you're starting so many babies, they're going to get over there and
Mhm.
stuff you. And now it's all over the world, this business of making it so that your knee is further from the fence. But Harcourt, I produced champion after champion for him. But he's the kind of guy that just gets bored,
Mm-hmm.
asked me to go to his psychiatrist and try to figure out what I should do next with him. And I went to his psychiatrist.
You did.
Yeah, I sat down. I studied that kind of thing, behavioral sciences. So I sat down with his psychiatrist, and he said, "Mr. Roberts, you'll never get along with this guy. He has sandcastle syndrome."
Okay.
And I said, all the schools that I went to, 4 universities, I never heard the term sandcastle. No, he says it's a term that I made up just for this guy. And I said, well, what the heck are you talking about? And he says, sandcastle syndrome is where you get a guy that's got a lot of things going for him, and he walks down on the dry sand down by the beach, by the sea, and he lays down in the nice warm sand and the sea's out there. And then he's looking and he sees wet sand where the tide had gone out. And that's where you build a castle.
Okay.
And so he built
It
a
is-
castle
Okay.
of the wet sand. And then he called his psychiatrist, first ones to have one of those walk around phones. He called his psychiatrist and he told him to come to that area. He wanted him to see what sandcastle syndrome was. So the guy went there, the doctor, and he said, "So what do you get out of this? You're 50 years old, and why are you doing this?" Oh, he said, "This isn't the joy of it. I want you to stay here with me and watch the sea come back with the high tide, and it comes up. And the joy I get out of it is watching that castle get torn down by the sea."
Really?
And he said, "I put it in the books as sandcastle syndrome. It's my
Wow.
discovery." And he said, "This guy's coming downhill.
Yeah, you're not gonna get along with him.
I'm not going to."
I'm sorry.
There's some films that show that part of it, I guess you'd say. But anyway, he had other businesses going, and he's living in Santa Barbara, and he calls me and says, "I want to come over there with my new attorney, and it's a young man, but he's brilliant,
Uh-oh.
and I want to have a meeting with you." So he said, "I want to have it outside the house up here where we can look over the whole place." So we sat down out there at this table. The attorney was about 22 or something. And he sits there, I sit here, and he says, I want out. This castle is coming down.
Okay.
And the attorney said, I don't want any arguments here, and I don't want anybody angry about it. I'm in charge of pulling this thing apart. And that's the end of that. You need to go to New Zealand and get those 2 stallions over there sold off, etc. And anyway, the other attorneys over there started saying, this isn't right. It's not really legal. I had a 5-year contract. They want me to go at 4.5. It's not really legal. You got to wait the 5 years out if you're going to have that contract, whether or not you want another contract. And so it really made him angry that he couldn't do it right then. So they called again. Said, we want to have a meeting with you. And it was the time and stuff. And I want you to come to my barber shop for the meeting. And I have friends there, and I want to have a meeting with you there before you go to New Zealand to sell those 2 stallions. And Pat can go with you. I'll pay for both of you. And you should fill out forms to have the 3 children you have get their passports so they could travel if they wanted. Yeah, okay. And I sat back down in the barber shop wondering, what do I do next? Pat was down the street buying some hamburgers because we hadn't eaten all day. In the door comes 3 men in suit and tie, and they walked straight up to me, came through the door like this and walked straight up to me. Are you Monty Roberts? Yes, I am. Stand up. Okay. We are attorneys. You just stand up and you don't have to say a thing. Put your hands behind your back.
What?
And I said, okay. And they said that they were from the district attorney's office.
Yeah, they were cops, yeah.
And they snapped handcuffs on me.
What?
Behind. And when Pat got back, the barbers told her what happened and that they hauled me off and said she could find me at the sheriff's office. They took me to the sheriff's office and they said, we want you to sign these papers relieving Mr. Harcourt of your contract.
Oh. No.
And I said, I'm not signing any papers at all. What about my attorney? You didn't bring my attorney, you just have his attorneys or what? No, but follow us down this hall. And I followed them down there, still handcuffed. And the hall was quiet. The real hall was over here with 18 prisoners at the time, drunks and whatever, But it's quiet down this hall. It was an isolation hall. And they stopped at this door and they said, look in there. You see that guy in there? And there was a guy in there on an iron bunk that was attached to the wall on the far side, lying down like he's sleeping, and he's in chains. And chains on his ankles that went up, crossed up, and put here, and a chain around here. And they said, you're going in this stall unless you sign this paper.
Oh, wow.
And I said, then I'm going in this stall, this cell. And they said, you would rather go in that cell than sign this paper? Yeah. So I went in and they said, well, now, he's been paid handsomely. And his pay comes in the form of an agreement to release his from charges, and he killed a man
Oh.
in
Redlands, I think.
Redlands. Yeah, Redlands. He killed a man in Redlands. And he's been arrested several times. And we're going to turn him loose.
Oh.
If you don't sign this paper. And if you won't sign it right now, your chains are going to get hooked to his chains. And this ring is going to be in the middle. And he's going to get you to sign this.
Wow.
This paper. So there I am, chained to this criminal.
Yeah.
Confessed criminal.
Yeah.
And he said, you sign that or I die. So I'm not going to leave here without that being signed or you die.
Oh.
And I said, I'm not signing it. And he got up off that bunk bed, lower than that. He got up off of that like this and stepped over the chain. And I'm Roper. And I had the chain that he had wrapped around his ankle. Wham! Like this. And he went over backwards and hit his head on the bunk.
Oh,
And he's totally unconscious.
thank God.
No, he didn't die.
No, I didn't want him to die, but thank God he's out because you're safe for a while.
He's down there. And I sit right in the middle of him and I coil up this long chain and I'm holding it over his head, and I didn't realize that they're watching us on a camera the whole time.
Oh, wow.
And they came down and opened the door and they said, oh my God, you're crazy. Now it's really going to be bad for you. And they took me out. They said, we got to go back to the DA's office and figure out what we're going to do here. And they took me down the hall and put me in with 16 men in one cell. 16 men. Now, is there a God in heaven? I'm in there, and they said, you have a $50,000 bail on you.
But you haven't done anything. This is insane. This
I had a $50,000 bail
wow.
on me. And I slept there, not really, but I laid down there.
Mm-hmm.
And at about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, somebody came to the door that had a suit on and stuff. Said, there's a phone call for you, and I don't know what the hell is going on here. We don't allow phone calls this time of day, but they said it has to happen. Okay. So out the door they take me. They have me chained. They take me down the hall. Phone is there. And I pick up the phone and he says,
Is this Raymond Cornelius?
Mr. Cornelius.
Mm-hmm.
Elder. And I'd only met him a few times, but I bought some cattle from him and I sold some cattle to him. And it's a famous family that was here, and he was in his late 70s at the time. And Raymond was his son, about my age. And he said, I want you to know that you can go back to that cell with the 16 men. I found out about what they've done to you. And I'll be over there in 2 hours with $50,000
No way.
in a paper bag. Cash. And I said, oh my God, there's a God in heaven without any question.
Wow.
And so they put me back in there, and I laid down. All these other guys wanted to know, who are you? What the hell is going on here? You know, you tell us or we're going to kill you. And I said, everybody's going to kill me anyway. So
This is wild.
yeah. And so anyway, he brought a paper bag in with 50,000 American dollars in it and put it up there and said, get him out. I got back to the house. Pat was there,
Yeah.
waiting outside.
Wondering, well,
Got back to my house. The house was chock-a-block full of people. The kids were asleep. No,
I think you had
no,
said.
you were awake.
Did,
It was early in the day.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the kids were in their bedrooms, and I guess Pat probably told them to stay in there. Maybe
Either that or they sent us to Morro Bay, I think. Didn't they
Oh,
send
yeah,
us
later.
to Morro Bay? Well, but not then. It was too soon.
not
maybe.
right then.
I
No.
can't remember.
Next
We were
day.
not there. I don't remember the party.
Anyway, they took me. They got me out, and they had a barbecue for everybody. And the lady across the road over there,
Peggy Gardner.
Peggy Gardner, put a car there for us to have because they took everything.
wow.
They took everything.
Well, everything was in the company. So
Yeah.
the house, the cars.
Everything.
Everything was in the company.
Yeah. So they stripped the farm
Yeah.
and then,
And Mrs. Gardner said, you can bring all your horses over to me. I'll clear my place out and you can continue your business while you're going through the.
Trial.
yeah.
going-
So then you had a trial. Wow.
I had a trial 8 months later, the first few days of September.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought a judge out of retirement to hear this case. The county did. And he was sitting right where you're sitting. And over here are my attorneys
Mm-hmm.
that those people that were in my house hired these people over here as the attorneys. And here was Harcourt, and there was his young attorney ready to kill me somehow, you know. And I'm sitting where the judge sat, and he said, listen to me, folks. See all these files up the walls here? I read every one of them. There's no case here. He hasn't done anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to find anything that he's done wrong to you, and I can't find anything. So, there's no trial here. I've already let him know out there to let the jury go. The jury is dismissed
Wow.
because there's not going to be a trial. And when he smiles, and he points to me, I'm sitting right there. When he smiles, this case is over. Start telling him what you're going to do for him. And when you've said enough, he will smile. And this Harcourt started naming things off. And eventually I saw where we could own this farm.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, my attorney said, don't smile.
How do you not smile when you're
And then when you can own the farm, you have to smile.
Yeah.
You know, so I smiled and he said, dismissed.
That's
And
how you
out they
got
came,
the farm?
Pat sitting outside wondering what in the world.
That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. But meant to be.
And it's one of the stories that you'll find in my upcoming book.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Where
very cool.
some publishing company said we want incidences that happened in your life to change it.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe we've got 8 or 10 incidences that really changed my life till it's changed and I'm gone.
What an amazing story.
And now we have
Over 80,000 words. It just got turned into the publisher.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.